the state of Louisiana, one of ours. SBA Small Business Person of the Year for the state of Louisiana 2024, one of ours. SBA Small Business Person for the United States of America, one of ours. But we invite you guys to apply for our program. We'd love to help and show you how to grow and scale your business. If you're not ready yet, I'll just give you the qualifications really briefly. You need to be in business for at least 2 years, have 2 or more employees with a minimal revenue of $75,000. And if you apply and you're not ready, then we're going to turn around and refer you to some of our ecosystem partners, like our folks at Propeller, and some of the other technical assistance organizations to help you get ready for the program. So again, my name's Dave Payton. I work with the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses Program. If it's a program that sounds like it fits you, you're welcome to stop me. I'm happy to talk to you. I'm happy to spread the gift of growth to any small business owner in the room. Thank you very much. Good evening.
All right, y'all, let's give a round of applause for our organization who are represented here today. We're going to get started in about 10 minutes here, y'all. There's food outside. There's other businesses out here that you could get to mingle with. We're going to play the music for a brief second, but we're going to be right back to get our program started. All right, y'all?
Anybody with a white Jeep parked in front of a senior citizen's home, if you can find another parking spot for that lovely white Jeep. White Jeep. Thank you. Please try to modify your parking space. Thank you. Parking is also near roads. Yes, it's a parking lot at Rose Funeral Home. Thank you, Ms. Kathleen, for clarifying. So you will have a secure space that you can move your white Jeep.
Hello, good evening. Hola, buenas tardes. Okay, we're going to introduce our language justice initiative right now. I'm going to be speaking in Spanish, and my colleague is going to be speaking in English. Hola a todos, mi nombre es Tania y mis pronombres son ella. Estoy aquí con mi compa y cointérprete Joan. y sus pronombres son ella. Thank you. Somos miembros de la colectiva de justicia del lenguaje Banchalenguas.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tanya, and my pronouns are she, her. I am joined today by my comrade and co-interpreter, Joanne, whose pronouns are she, her. We are members of Banchalenguas Language Justice Collective.
Como trabajadores de justicia del lenguaje, nos dedicamos a crear un espacio para que todos aquí presentes puedan entender y ser entendidos en el idioma en que se sienten más poderosos. En la sesión de hoy tal vez se hablará en inglés y español y habrá interpretación simultánea entre el inglés y español y lenguaje de señas estadounidense. Si no eres bilingüe en español o en inglés, por favor busque un equipo de interpretación en la mesa de justicia del lenguaje que está cerca del check-in.
As language justice workers, we strive to create a space for everyone here to understood and be understood in the language in which you feel most powerful. There may be English and Spanish spoken into this session, and we'll be providing simultaneous interpretation between English, Spanish, and American Sign Language. If you're not bilingual in Spanish and English, please pick up interpretation equipment at the language justice table that is right by the check-in table.
Hoy vamos a estar usando el equipo de interpretación simultánea. Las personas hispanohablantes ya deben tener el equipo. Si lo necesitan, diríjese a la mesa de registración.
Today, we will be using simultaneous interpretation equipment. Those who need it that are Spanish speaking should already have the equipment. If you still need it, please go get it at the registration table.
Y si tienen problemas con el equipo, por favor, déjenos saber de inmediatamente. Vamos a estar allá en la esquina. Alcen la mano, hagan una bulla o vayan a la esquina donde estamos.
Any issues that you have with the equipment, please let us know immediately. Raise your hand, make some noise, or just go up to our table, which will be right back in the corner.
Ok, ahora vamos a probar el equipo. Para las personas que tienen el equipo, por favor, pónganse en sus audífonos y asegúrese de que su equipo está encendido.
Now we will try out the equipment, so please put on your headphones for those who need it and make sure that your equipment is turned on.
A ver, ok. You ready, Joan? All right. Déjenos saber si nos pueden escuchar, alce la mano, nos puede dar un aplauso, o simplemente alzar la mano para dejarnos saber que pueden escucharnos mediante los audífonos. No veo algunos problemas ahorita. I'm just seeing if folks can hear my voice right now. If you have the equipment, you should be able to hear me in your headphones. You can clap, you can raise your hand, you can snap, just letting us know that you can hear my voice or what I am saying. Okay, I'm not seeing any issues. No estoy viendo algunos problemas. Entonces, vamos a continuar. Okay. Bueno, para crear este espacio juntos, algunas cositas. Por favor, hable a un paso lento y constante. Habla en voz alta y clara. Por favor, mantente atente por si te pedimos que hables más despacio, hables más fuerte o te repites. Intenta decir el nombre completo de los acrónimos, por ejemplo, de diferentes organizaciones. Y solo podemos interpretar una voz a la vez. Y entendemos que en comunidad a veces nuestras voces resuenan. En estos momentos dejaremos de interpretar y esperemos a reanudar la interpretación cuando haya un orador. I'm going to say it in English now. I know that was a lot. To create the space together, a few things. And I know a lot of the folks in the space aren't necessarily speaking, but so we can co-create the space together. The speakers were asking to please speak at a slow and steady pace. Speak loudly and clearly, especially if you're voicing a question. Please keep an eye out in case we ask you to slow down or speak up or repeat yourself. And please try to say the full name of acronyms or organizations because we might not know what they are. And we can only interpret one voice at the time, and we understand sometimes we get excited. And in these moments, we'll stop interpreting because we don't want to have to prioritize one voice over the other. Okay. Thank you for your commitment to creating a multilingual space. Gracias por su compromiso por crear un espacio multilingüe.
Good evening. How's everybody doing? How's everybody doing this evening? Wonderful. When I can squeeze through this real quick. Don't need a seat, I don't think. Good evening, everyone. My name is Chuck Morse. I am the Executive Director of Thrive New Orleans, and it's my honor to welcome you to the New Orleans Entrepreneur Support Ecosystem Coalition 2025 Mayoral Forum with the theme, Small Business is Economic Development. Let me say that one more time. Small business is economic development. This coalition has band together to elevate the voices of the small business community. Tonight's forum offers candidates a unique opportunity to speak directly to small business owners, entrepreneurs, and neighborhood leaders about their vision and strategy for building a more equitable, inclusive, and thriving local economy. The New Orleans Entrepreneurial Support Ecosystem Coalition is a collaborative network of organizations committed to advancing equitable, let me say it one more time, in a world where equitable is no longer a good word, equitable economic development and supporting local entrepreneurs. We're so glad to be here together. We work to strengthen New Orleans small business landscape through policy advocacy, resource sharing, and community-driven solutions. I would like to recognize our partner organizations. When I say your name, please stand up or raise your hand if you're here. But first and foremost, I want to recognize our two co-hosts, Propeller and Broad Community Connections. Thank you, AJ in the back. Our other cohort partners are Thrive New Orleans, which I represent, Nucor, El Centro, Fund 17, Stay Local, The Collaborative. I see you, Deborah, over there. The Collaborative. The New Orleans Black Chamber of Commerce. Yeah, you're in the house. Hispanic Chamber of Commerce of Louisiana. Maya, I know you're here. Just saw you a second ago. Also, the South Broad Business Coalition. You're in the house, and you're in the front seat in the house, too. The Louisiana Chamber Foundation. Kalisha, I know you're here. Where you at? All right, she right here? Okay, she's standing in the back there. All right. Goldman Sachs, 10,000 small businesses. David, I know you just spoke. Also, Aretha Castle Haley Merchants and Business Association. Old Algiers Main Street. All right, wonderful. Broad Street Business Association. All right. Bayou Road Business Association is in the house. The Greater New Orleans East Business Alliance. Is the E in the house? Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Sankofa Community Development Corporation. Rashida, I know if she's not here, I know she's working. The Corporation New Orleans. All right. Yajuma, I know Nari's here. You jam a lot because you work a lot. Economic Development Corporation, Nari, a friend and a partner. And so again, it is my pleasure to be here tonight. Together, these organizations represent the unsung heroes of our city's economy, working day in and day out to support entrepreneurs who often labor quietly in the vineyards, but whose work makes New Orleans the special city that we love. Consider this. Small businesses account for 99% of all businesses in the state of Louisiana and employ nearly half of the state's workforce. Without them, New Orleans or Louisiana simply wouldn't be New Orleans or Louisiana. So on behalf of the entire coalition, I'm speaking on behalf of the family. Lindsay, I'm speaking on behalf of the family. We extend our gratitude to these partners who fight every day to make sure small business voices are heard and supported. So I'm proud to be part of this coalition, this collaboration. And the next person I want to bring up is Adele London, who needs no introduction. She's been fighting for a long, long time. And I would say this, as a pastor, I will say this. Her sandals, the person that comes after me, her sandals, I'm not worthy to tie. God bless you. Thank you.
I feel like I should have had Rocky music coming up like after that. But well, good evening, everyone. I'm Adele London, and I'm the Director of Community Development here at Propeller, where entrepreneurs come to grow. Right? All right. It's important to note that the candidates participating tonight represent the top 3 polling candidates in the current election cycle. But in the spirit of fairness, all candidates were invited to participate in a separate write-in forum, which is available online for your public viewing. And we have some in print. Many of you might have picked it up on the way in, but we do have QR codes all around, and you're welcome to pick it up, and you can see your candidates' answers in print and writing. Please see the QR code. I think, I don't know. I think we'll look around there. They're all around. So please also note that tonight's event is being translated in Spanish, recorded, and live streamed by Broad Community Connections YouTube channel, so that all the members of the New Orleans community can access the information even tonight. And we want you all to participate. If you are here in person, you will see another QR code here, and you can check in, and then you can please submit any questions that you have for the candidates, all of them, or one in particular. But please submit your questions by 8 o'clock tonight, so that they can be considered during our audience Q&A segment. And now it is my distinct pleasure to introduce a seasoned journalist and our debate moderator tonight, WDSU veteran anchor Gina Swanson. Gina has been a trusted voice in New Orleans for over 2 decades, covering politics, education, and community issues with depth and integrity. She has also moderated some of the region's most important political debates, bringing fairness, professionalism, and insight to every conversation. It's also important to note that tonight's conversation was designed with fairness, inclusion, and transparency in mind. The questions you'll hear tonight weren't drafted in a vacuum. They were sourced over the last 2 months through listening sessions with our small business owners, our collaborative partners, and a small business town hall that we held here last month. Through ongoing input from the broader community, small business community as well. What you'll hear tonight reflects the real issues and priorities of entrepreneurs that they're experiencing every day. Before we turn things over, I want to once again thank all of our small business owners, our ecosystem partners, and to the candidates with us this evening. Please know that the small business community is listening, we are watching, and we are eager to work alongside you to build a New Orleans that works for all of us. Like any true partnership, we ask that you not just work for us, but with us. Be assured we are paying attention, and we expect that you live up to the ideals and aspirations that you espouse tonight. Thank you very much. Without any further ado, Miss Gina.
Thank you so much. Come to New Orleans, they said. Open a business, they said. Girl, Cupcake Fairies on Bayou Road, I see it packed. You must be rich. That's what they think when you open a small business. They don't even know the sleepless nights. They don't even know how you think about how you're going to make payroll, how you're going to make ends meet. You make it look good on the surface, but the existential threat of owning a small business increases every day. Just this summer, we saw a dozen restaurants close. Popular ones in some cases, the Hangout NOLA, an event space targeted for our kids, couldn't survive. That is why this conversation tonight is so important. Good evening, everyone. As she said, I'm Gina Swanson, happy to serve as your moderator tonight for this small business and economic development event. I'm looking out. I'm seeing business owners I know. It's truly wonderful to see a room full of a cross-section of our business owners and community leaders and neighbors, people who deeply care about the future of our city. We heard from Chuck and Adele. I think we can all agree that this is beyond politics. It's really about the people here, the entrepreneurs, the businesses that make New Orleans the city we know and love. All right, before we get into it tonight, let's just handle a few housekeeping rules. We do have some restrooms. They are located on the back right off the kitchen area if you need a restroom. Emergency exits, you can see one here. There's another located to my far, I guess my left, your right. Hopefully we don't need those. Spanish translation, we went over that. There are headsets available. Silence your phones, y'all. Come on now. Y'all saw us on a viral video on Channel 6. Silas Lee phone was on, and people circulated that all across social media. That's all I'm going to say about that. But silence your phones, okay? We also want you to be a part of this conversation. So audience participation, I should say, is encouraged. You have until 8 o'clock. You heard Adele say that to submit your business-related questions. QR code right there. Scan that code. You see on your screen, and you could submit your questions digitally. We're not taking postcards. You don't have to stand up in the back. You can submit your questions with the QR code. Before we move on, I have to introduce the candidates. This is really kind of the grind, right? We're a month out from Election Day. This is like the grueling part of the campaign. Events every night, so it is no small thing, I say every time, for anybody to offer themselves up for public service. Introducing the candidates, Louisiana State Senator Royce Duplessis represents District 5, covering parts of Uptown, Central City, Mid-City, and New Orleans East. Known for his work on criminal justice reform, education, and economic development, he's championed policies aimed at expanding opportunity and equity across our city. Royce Duplessis, State Senator. Thank you. Councilmember Helena Moreno was set to be here. She is not here at this time. Also in attendance tonight, we do have Councilmember Oliver Thomas representing Council District E. He brings decades of public service experience to the table. You don't need me to tell you, he's going to tell you about it. He is focused on his council tenure and economic revitalization, infrastructure, and rebuilding trust with residents, particularly in neighborhoods that have been underserved. Ladies and gentlemen, Councilmember Oliver Thomas, thank you. All right, we have the candidates on the stage. Each candidate will have a set time to respond to the questions. If anybody has a direct challenge or directly implicated, we'll allow for rebuttal. No interruptions while the candidates are speaking. Hold the applause, please, until the end of each segment. And of course, the candidates, please keep your remarks focused on the issue at hand. That's it. We're going to get things started. Please welcome Dason Jordan and Jessica Allen to deliver a brief presentation just to set the stage on where we are in terms of small businesses.
Hello,
Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you for the introduction, Gina. My name is Jessica Allen, Propeller CEO, and I'm so glad to welcome you all to our facility tonight and honored to have a few minutes to help set the stage for tonight's conversations with one of our close partners.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dejan Jordan, also known as DJ. I'm the Executive Director of Broad Community Connections, and I'm so glad that everybody came out today. So we are here today to represent this coalition that has been working tirelessly over the past few months to make sure that tonight is about setting and shaping an agenda and priorities that are about our economic development ecosystem. Really, how do we have a system that allows us to do business well, but also supports our entrepreneurs, whether you're a startup or you've been in business forever. So today's forum is really focused on these 6 priority areas that we have wrestled tirelessly over. Next slide. And those 6 areas are procurement, place-based development, city services and utilities, resilience and disaster preparedness, zoning and permitting, and small business resources and capital access. So I think often we think about small business and we think jobs, we think permits, we think money, but it's a bit more nuanced in the environment that we're in now. So tonight's framework is not just about, the framework that we have tonight is just not about the questions, but really how this ecosystem is going to hold this next administration in deep engagement to make sure that we have equitable outcomes.
This evening, as we look around the room, we see entrepreneurs, small business owners, and ecosystem partners who have contributed to real progress in business development here in New Orleans and across our region. Your work and collaboration have helped move outcomes forward. Small businesses are the backbone of our economy. They are job creators, innovators, and anchors in our neighborhoods, driving local spending, building community wealth. New Orleans in particular has always shown remarkable entrepreneurial energy. After Katrina, our entrepreneurship rate spiked, and today it remains high, about 35% higher than the national average and 29% higher than other large metro areas. That speaks to the energy being woven into the fabric of the city and to the deep belief that entrepreneurship is part of the lifeblood of our community. At the same time, everyone in this room knows that challenges remain real. Too many of our businesses, especially our Black and Hispanic-led companies and women-owned firms, continue to face barriers to capital, encounter unreliable infrastructure and permitting issues, in addition to protecting themselves against the next disaster. These persistent gaps are holding back the full potential of our entrepreneurial community. We know that disparities in business opportunities and wealth distribution persist, and we wanted to share a few key data points related to this topic to help ground us this evening. The data slides shared this evening were provided by the Data Center, which is a fully independent, neutral nonprofit whose experts bring data together from multiple sources. They're one of the most trusted resources for data about Southeast Louisiana. So this first slide here, based on current available information, we find that Black and Hispanic metro area New Orleanians own a reasonable share of businesses in the region relative to the population. But there's a clear disparity in the employer businesses, or those businesses that have one or more employees. Because employer firms generate much higher revenue compared to sole proprietors, we see a large disparity in total revenue when comparing white-led employer firms with Black-led or Hispanic-led employer firms. Of the over $60 billion earned in Metro New Orleans by firms where race of ownership could be identified, over 90% went to white-owned firms, 2% to Black-owned firms, and 2.4% to Hispanic-owned firms. And we recognize that many past efforts have aimed to create long-term systemic change to address these disparities. However, we also know that achieving lasting change requires strong partnership across both the public and private sectors. One of the most effective strategies, if we can have the next slide, for many Black and Hispanic-owned firms to grow their revenue and expand their workforce is through procurement opportunities. While, if I could have the next slide. While city contracts have historically played a role in supporting the development of these businesses, the greatest opportunities for meaningful growth lie in the private sector. This graph here demonstrates one disparity in contract opportunities in Metro New Orleans.
The bar on the left is the annual contract dollars for all contracts for the city of New Orleans. And the bar on the right shows contracts in Metro New Orleans for only construction contracts in the private sector. Annual expenditures by all businesses in the metro area for construction alone are more than 17 times the annual expenditures by the city of New Orleans for all type of work. And we know that these disparities for small businesses, like the ones we shared this evening, contribute to the disparities in the distribution of wealth across the city. Even relatively affluent Black and Hispanic households only have as much wealth as a typical white household. This reality underscores why tonight's conversation matters. We know the basics are important. We know that we need to ensure the fundamentals are in place for our businesses and for our community. But this evening isn't about just the basics. It's about going beyond them. It's about imagining what's possible when we push further, when not only we meet the minimum needs, but create the conditions for entrepreneurs to thrive, to innovate, and to leave a lasting impact in New Orleans.
Next slide. Thank you. We're also mindful that the state of our small business economy is shaped by our residents. In a recent study from the data center, it's become evident that our city's population has declined by 5% over the last 5 years. Population decline that's felt through the loss of business receipts for our entrepreneurs and tons of business receipts that they're missing out on. That said, we are in need of a generational vision from the future city leadership. Leadership with the ability to create the foundation for transformational change for Black and Brown-owned businesses, and those most actively that feel the impact of our gaps, such as infrastructure reliability, vulnerability to disasters, and other things. Someone who is not just looking at the next 4 or 8 years, but someone who is planning for the next 25, 50, and 100. And tonight's conversation is an opportunity for us to prioritize resilient infrastructure, smarter city processes, inclusive procurement, and targeted investment to ensure small business is economic development, to ensure that small business is economic development, to ensure that small business is economic development. So our ecosystem believes that entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship in New Orleans, because it is the lifeblood of our community. And with that said, I will welcome our amazing moderator back up. Thank you.
Thank you. Desjardins. Thank you. And Jess. Set the stage for us tonight. We certainly appreciate those comments. With that framing our discussion tonight, we're going to turn to the candidates who are seeking to lead our city into the future. You heard Desjardins talk about a generational vision for how we can spur small business development, because it is economic development. Here is how this segment of the forum will go. We will have opening statements first, and then we'll have moderated questions, so kind of a thoughtful response. But then on the same topic, we'll have a few rapid fire questions as well. After that, we will have one direct question based on your record or past position. So we have audience members or business owners we've selected to ask you a direct question. It is not their question. Do not take it personal. Don't feel some kind of way. It's like a question that was developed from all of the businesses that were here, but it is a direct question. Exactly. Exactly. Finally, we'll have audience questions, and then finally we'll have closing remarks. That's how we're going to proceed, okay? We're good with that. Everybody good with that? Everybody stay in the allotted time. We do have a timekeeper. You will hear a buzzer. Our timekeeper's back there. You hear a buzzer when your time is up. We're going to start with opening statements. Each candidate gets 2 minutes, and we will begin with Councilmember Thomas. Don't start yet, y'all. Okay.
The last time you moderated, you started in alphabetical order. That's why they say be like a scout. Always be ready, right? Well, first of all, I want to thank Propeller, and I want to thank all the entrepreneurs and one of the great moderators of all time, Gina Swanson. But even more importantly, I want to thank my brother to the left for showing up. Him and I, there have been several debates and several conversations about the importance of this community where him and I have been the only ones to want to do that. And you can compete with class. No, that's absolutely correct. You can face people with tough questions, And when you really want to lead, you can be comfortable in any crowd. So God bless you for that, young man. Absolutely. This is probably one of the most important discussions in our community. And the one thing you know, as former host of the Good Morning Show, I was the first person to unveil the data center report on wealth and wealth disparity and the gap. So in terms of his proficiency and his knowledge, we used it when I was hosting the Good Morning Show as a conversation about economics, the wealth gap, and the disparities in certain communities. We cannot be successful without the people in this room. And Nicole, the people in this room are going to determine whether we close the wealth gap or not. African-American children are poorer post-Katrina than they were pre-Katrina. Now think about that as business people. We had $71 billion, right, of infrastructure, of FEMA money come here. And in a small, glorious, grimy city like this, Pastor Chuck, how is your dominant population poorer than it was before? African-American women lead in startup, but we don't look at the fine print that says 6 months later they don't have resources to stay up. So if you can start up, what do we do when you talk about stay up? Now, the other thing that I liked was when the young man talked about the ecosystem. The ecosystem is extremely important because the ecosystem isn't just downtown, the port, or the French Quarter, or the Sliver by the river. The ecosystem for opportunity, especially given our natural topography, our waterways, our rail, and our road, and access from one part of this continent to the next. The ecosystem is from Monticello Street all the way to Fort Pike, and from the cutoff to the lakeshore.
I mean, Senator Duplessis, your opening remark. I know we're going to pick that up later, y'all.
I'm
opening
sorry.
remarks. Senator Duplessis.
Don't have 'em again.
2 minutes. Opening remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Gina. It's great to be here tonight. Thank you, Propeller. Thank you to all of the organizations and individuals that are part of the ecosystem. And I also want to extend the same courtesy and respect to Councilman Thomas. I think these conversations, I know these conversations are important. So we just have to set that at a foundational level. We're standing and sitting here before you, offering ourselves in such a way. So it's a matter of respect, because we're not only here to be heard, but we're here to listen. And I will tell you why I'm running for mayor. I'm running for mayor because I want to make New Orleans an easier place to live. I want to make New Orleans a more affordable place to live. We've lost over 20,000 people over the past 4 years. That wasn't just by accident. That was a result of leadership. It's too costly, but in effect, while it's too costly, we've had dysfunction, we've had chaos coming out of City Hall. We've had people who have been a part of that chaos, in many ways architected and engineered that chaos, and don't want to take accountability for it. I want to come in and be a leader that brings people together to help solve the problems. That's what I've been doing in Baton Rouge for the past 7 years, working in a hostile climate, working with people who I disagree with to try to bring results to the community that I love. I'm here tonight for my 7-year-old daughter. I'm here tonight for my family, for your family, so that we can have the community that we all deserve, one that's rich in prosperity, one that has opportunities for entrepreneurs. And I'm going to be clear about this. Black entrepreneurs, Hispanic entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs. We have to be specific, and we cannot be afraid to talk about disparities. We cannot be afraid to talk about the wealth gap that Oliver knows so well, and how that gap continues to widen. And we have to be able to be real about who's going to be best to lead these issues and who's proximate to the issues to best understand it. So it's really all about engagement. And that's what my style of leadership is, and I'm hoping we can have a great discussion about it today. Thank you all so much.
All right, Senator Duplessis, thank you. The first question in the focus area, city services and infrastructure, we're going to start with Senator Duplessis with the first comment. You know, sometimes I'm driving around the city and I'm looking around on roads and streets and I'm like, what is the budget for orange cones in New Orleans? I promise you I wonder that. Sometimes I'm trying to get to a business. I can't pull up, couldn't pull up to a little business, try to get some gumbo. All the cones were there, buckets, barrels. When you have construction or infrastructure, road, drainage, utility issues like this, how can you continue that work but also minimize disruption to businesses? Like they feel the effect of this, part one. And then part two, if you have a process or a timeline to fix these kind of broken city systems, could you explain that to us?
Absolutely. You know, in New Orleans, oftentimes we have to laugh or keep from crying. And that's why we can make the jokes about the cone. And I think there was a popular Instagram account. I don't see much on it no more. I know we all followed it at some point. Like, look at this effing street. You know, we turn these things into jokes, but they're not a laughing matter, because it's not only an infrastructure, it's just a public safety issue. It's the perception that we have of ourselves and how we manage things in the city of New Orleans. I think much of it has to do with coordination and collaboration. My goal is to set up a coordination cabinet amongst all the various department heads who meet not just once a week, but twice a week. Those department heads who can go into a street, who can bus up a street, Sewage and Water Board, Public Works, Entergy, Cox, all of the different agencies, to make sure that we're properly coordinating on various projects. That's what it takes. That's what it takes. That's what we don't have right now. Also, we need a better public-facing dashboard that can engage with business owners. We need better communication to say, we're going to be busting up your street, not tomorrow, but next week or next month,
Senator
and be prepared.
Duplessis.
It should only take 100 days to get done.
Councilmember Thomas, your plan for making these infrastructure improvements, but also minimizing disruption to business, that's part one. And then part two, the process and timeline to fix these broken city systems.
Well, first of all, I mean, we can't, my theme for my campaign is a city that works. You can't have a city that works if potholes and bad streets, you can't get to work. So that part of it has to be fixed. But you have to understand what happened. The money that we got after Katrina, in terms of the $1.2 billion, that money was programmed to do work without the capacity to do that much work. So what a mayor would have done, what I would have done, but maybe what Royce would have done, is make sure that we program enough work to deal with the business structure and the capacity to get it done. I'll give you an example. The Landry administration programmed about 7 to 8% with only 2% capacity. The Cantrell administration came in, programmed 14 to 15% without an inventory list of contractors who could do the work on time. That didn't make sense. So what was inconveniences for people turned into hardships. And those hardships actually created a problem in the community. So the one thing I would do is do with other cities, break them up into smaller projects and make sure they're timely.
Thank you for that. We're still in city services and infrastructure. As you may have noticed, Councilmember Moreno was not able to make it, so this is at this moment a discussion between these two gentlemen. But we are expected to receive a statement, and we will read that into the record. We'll move on. We're still on city services and infrastructure. I'm just telling you what they told me, y'all. They was like, she gonna send a statement. And so, okay. All right, listen. This is the discussion right here, right now.
We got it.
Listen with the people who showed up. Okay, good. We're gonna move on. Councilmember Thomas, the question is to you. This is about digital accessibility. Listen, we know that AT&T and broadband is only available in certain neighborhoods. What's your vision to ensure access to high-speed internet for all small businesses, especially in underserved neighborhoods? 1 minute.
Well, you would hope that we'd be able to work with the franchise providers, AT&T and Cox right now, to have maybe a community program so that you could have access. So one of the things that is important, and we talked about this before, is that the digital age is extremely important. If you can't log on, then you can't really log on to the future of this community. Now, the city has practiced AI, always inept, right? So we don't need that level of AI. We need to work with our providers to make sure that they're expanding that service in high-speed services, because anyone who tries to do that, the cheapest, you'll be waiting until tomorrow to be able to access the internet. But we don't necessarily have the money, Ms. Swanson, to build out an infrastructure to provide the whole city. So there have to be grants in the partnership with the federal government, the state, and the providers to expand that service.
Senator Duplessis, question is to you. What's your vision to ensure access to high-speed internet for all small businesses, especially in underserved neighborhoods? 1 minute, sir.
So we're in the city of New Orleans, which many would define as an urban city, but some of y'all are familiar with the Gumbo Grant program that we developed up at the state level, broadband funding, which is really primarily targeted towards a lot of rural areas throughout the state that are without access. But the truth is that we still have pockets of New Orleans, as Gina just pointed out in her question, that do not still have the level of access in which they need. So we're going to continue to try to leverage whatever federal money is out there that we can leverage through the state or locally, working with private philanthropy, access is critical. And in 2025, if small businesses don't have reliable, accessible internet service, they're essentially in the Stone Age. And no entity or business operation can effectively operate without quality access to internet.
All right, rapid fire questions. We'll start with you, Senator Duplessis. This is a yes or no response. We'll go back and forth. We'll start with you. Do you support expanding free or low-cost municipal Wi-Fi citywide? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Councilmember Thomas, the question is to you. Will you place a city services and small business one-stop annex in New Orleans East?
Absolutely, yes.
Councilmember Duplessis, yes or no? Senator Duplessis, yes or no?
Yes, but I want to get the main one working first, but yes.
Okay. Senator Duplessis, will you audit the permitting process in your first 100 days and publish the results with a timeline for fixes?
Yes.
Councilmember?
Yes.
Okay. We're on to our focus area number 2. This is about entrepreneurial resources and capital access. So many people have so many great ideas. Your mama make the best bread pudding and all of this and, such and such, selling plates out our house. But, people cannot oftentimes access the capital they need to really get a brick and mortar business off the ground or even, have the business kind of services that they need. We've seen the closure of the New Orleans Business Alliance. We've seen small businesses lose a key resource with that. At the same time, the structure, leadership, and future of the Office of Business and External Services is unclear. The Office of Economic Development remains resourced with only 7 staff members. These create gaps for entrepreneurs from getting the capital support they need. With those challenges, what's your plan to strengthen small business retention and attraction and support this ecosystem of service providers that are vital to New Orleans' economic future? I know that was a big question. Essentially, small businesses need resources. They need support. We've seen that support dwindle. What's your plan as mayor to support small businesses in a way that they can thrive? We'll start with you, Councilmember Thomas.
Banks have Community Reinvestment Act funds that they're required to do. Why can't we leverage that to focus on small business now? Also, venture capitalists, right? And you have shark tanks and folk who are looking for opportunities. We have a lot of businesses that are startup, and if we can get investments and entrepreneurs and people who want to invest in them to help them scale up, as well as train them, send them to SUNO, Idea Village. I think the state of Louisiana, has a business incubator system. Let's work with them. But let's get investors in the room. Let's get banks in the room to talk about how do we make sure we lend some financial stability. 4 out of 5 African-American businesses didn't apply for PPP loans. 4 out of 5, because in many cases they thought they wouldn't get it. And I know young entrepreneurs here that banks call them to ask them if they're going to borrow money. So let's educate entrepreneurs and let's educate small business at what's accessible, and let's let the city have an Office of Economic Development that's providing that kind of information and providing those kinds of relationships. That piece ain't rocket science. It's just a will and a desire to do it. Link them to the money.
Senator Duplessis, support for small businesses. We know that they need access to capital and other resources that we have seen dwindle recently. As mayor, what would you do to support the ecosystem for small business resources? 1 minute.
First, I want to point out in your original question that you stated the fact that there are 7 employees in the Office of Economic Development. I want to thank you for saying that because the chairperson of the Economic Development Committee on the City Council, who's not here tonight, has said throughout this campaign that it's only been 1.5 people. So thank you for clearing up that. But with that said, I believe the office of the mayor is to be a convener. And what that means is that we have to work in partnership with organizations like Propeller, organizations like Broad Street Connections, organizations like Ujima, and so many others that do the work day in and day out to connect businesses, resources to businesses or startups. And that's the responsibility of the mayor, working to try to connect those resources. And you mentioned the super small business owner, the super small entrepreneur. I think about people like my grandparents. They had the sweet shop in the 7th Ward, didn't have any small business training. But it's about understanding those stories and understanding that small business entrepreneur that wasn't given anything, and we have to bridge those gaps.
Thank you. Moving on. Some U.S. cities, this question is actually to you, Senator Duplessis. Some U.S. cities have launched grant and capital access programs that directly support homegrown Main Street entrepreneurs. Even here in New Orleans, NOAA's Facade, Renew, and small business marketing programs, they provide some tangible benefits to local small businesses. What role should the city play in improving access to capital for underserved businesses? And what specific steps would you take to increase equitable access to capital? So again, what role should the city play in access to capital, and what steps would you take to increase equitability when it comes to that access? 1 minute, Senator DePass.
So as I said in my last answer, the city has to be the convener. The city has to be the leader, working in partnership with banks, nonprofits, small businesses. What the city can do is a better job of what it is doing right now. I want to create a business navigator program, helping small businesses navigate all of the challenges that they face in City Hall, from permitting to land use and zoning, all the different departments that they have to navigate that they may not have in immediate understanding or an ability to pay a consultant to do. They need someone in City Hall to help them navigate that. I want to create a revolving loan fund to help that small business person to know that they have access, they have an additional resource outside of the traditional banks where they may not have the credit, they may not have the capacity to walk into a bank and get that support. The city has to step in and provide that support.
Councilmember Thomas, what would you do in terms of access to capital and making sure that that access is equitable? 1 minute.
Well, the first thing we need to do is actually have a list or inventory of where those underserved businesses are. There are historical business corridors that operate in underserved communities that haven't been impacted by resources from the city or resources from investors. Let's know where they are. Once we find out where they are, what are their needs? Let's put them in a room with incubators, business consultants, to talk about where is access to capital. Are banks programming their funding to lend to businesses that have been in business for quite some time? Let them know where those funds are coming from. We have grants. We can reprogram grants to small businesses so that they could be start up, prop up, but also scale up. But the first thing that the next mayor needs to do is find out where those businesses are. There are a host of communities here where folk have been in business for a long time, but they've never had access to resources.
Thank you, Councilmember. This is yes or no, rapid fire. We'll start with you, Councilmember Thomas. Would you double the funding and staff of the Office of Economic Development to grow its capacity, yes or no?
Absolutely.
Senator Duplessis?
Yes.
Would you, Senator Duplessis, the question is to you, would you support the creation of a city-backed loan fund or other municipal financing tool?
Yes.
Councilmember?
Yes.
Councilmember, the question is to you, would you hold corporate entities and festivals accountable to equitable contracting with DBEs in the city? And we're talking about events like Essence, like Jazz Fest, like the Super Bowl.
Yes, indeed.
Senator?
Yes.
Senator, the question is to you, considering the problems that we have seen for some local small businesses during major events like Essence. That's in the paper, y'all. I'm not picking on Essence. Not picking on Essence, okay?
And the Super Bowl.
Okay, and the Super Bowl. Okay.
And the convention center.
Wait now. If I said, do we need to take away this out sometime? Okay, we all right? Okay, seriously though. Yes or no question, considering the problems that we've seen with small businesses during major events like the ones that we have named, will you continue to support clean zones? Councilmember?
With conditions.
That's a yes or no.
Because I know of another time, and this is important. During the Mayoral administration, when they had special events, they negotiated for nonprofits and small businesses to operate inside a certain perimeter. All right? So the mayors came along after that, and they stopped that practice.
Yes or no? Is that a yes or no?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Senator Duplessis, will you, considering the problems it's presented to our small local businesses during major events like the festivals we have noticed, will you continue to support clean zones? Yes or no?
Recognizing the challenges, yes.
Okay, y'all got that? We're moving along. Our next focus area is permitting and zoning. Our favorite thing, right? I can't tell you the amount of calls we get saying I have everything I need, I got all the food I need, I'm ready for this, I'm just waiting on the lady to call me back with the thing I need signed, and they told me this or that, what have you. A lot of times we hear from people because they believe the process is broken. Small businesses in New Orleans often face costly delays with permits, licenses, zoning, approvals, delays that can stall openings, expansions, or even be a threat to survival. In previous administrations, there has been some robust investment in cross-departmental collaboration to improve this process. What investments or process changes would you make to further modernize New Orleans' permitting system? What's the best practices that you can implement to ensure small business growth is supported? So we're talking about streamlining, modernizing, permitting, and zoning. Senator Duplessis, the question is to you.
So I started at City Hall 20 years ago in 2006 as Chief of Staff to a New Orleans City Councilman. That's when I really got to understand the inner workings of City Hall. What we've seen over the past 2 decades is we've seen improvement in one-stop shop, in safety and permits, in zoning, and then we've seen declines. We've seen it go in multiple different directions. So a lot of it has to do with management, oversight. In terms of how we improve it, I would embrace technology. Right now, the city of San Jose, California is using artificial intelligence as a way to modernize and embrace technology. Now, a lot of people are afraid of AI. I think we have to embrace it and use it as a tool to our advantage. I also want to figure out a way we can consolidate some of the divisions within safety and permits. We have 7 different divisions. Zoning alone, which is one division, has 6 subdivisions. We have to cross-train employees within safety and permits so that each person knows what the other person is doing. That creates accountability, that creates more transparency, and overall more productivity.
Council Member, hold your applause, please. Council Member Thomas, the question is to you. We're talking about costly delays. Okay.
Yeah.
He got it, y'all. 1 minute, sir.
First of all, one stop shouldn't mean stop. And then secondly, what I have proposed, and I'll give one of my colleagues credit, Councilmember Mayoral, is that provisional permitting. It took my niece and nephew, who are young entrepreneurs, 7 to 9 months to get their permits with my help. There are other cities that if you're in business or if you have a history of doing business and you followed most of the rules, if you have your state license approval, and if you have most of the city's approval, they'll give you a provisional permit so you can open your business. That's an easy one. I've advocated for that. And as mayor, I will definitely do that. Permits and folk who work in departments that work with entrepreneurs are going to have performance plans and benchmarks, like I had for the 9 years I worked for the engineering firm before I went to work at City Hall. That's business. Those kinds of business practices and principles can apply to civil servants and public employees.
Council Member, thank you. Rapid fire, yes or no on the same topic of the permitting and zoning. Council Member Thomas, this is to you. Despite the national attack on diversity, equity, and inclusion, will your administration boldly invest and advocate for DBEs, minority, women, and immigrant-owned businesses? Yes or no,
yes.
Council Member? Senator.
Always and unapologetically.
Senator Duplessis, will you commit to a strict 30-day permitting turnaround? Yes or no?
Yes.
Council Member.
Yes.
Council Member Thomas, after the city's 2023 nighttime sweep, you may recall, shut down parts of St. Claude Avenue, street vendors there. Will you commit to reforming the permitting process so vendors can operate legally without fear of raids? Council Member.
Yes, underground economy, real in New Orleans.
Yes.
Thank you, Senator. All right. Good question. Focus area number 4. This is all about procurement. Although 40% of all businesses in New Orleans are Black owned, they only receive 2% of total business receipts. So there is obviously a strong entrepreneurial spirit in the Black community. They're just not getting access to bigger business opportunities. On day 1, What actions would you take to support DBE and diverse business growth and development and meaningfully increase the receipts and overall market share? Councilmember Thomas.
Well, first of all, you want to develop an inventory of who does what. Do we know what small and minority women-owned businesses, what do they do, what services they provide? And once we find out what services they provide, especially the contracts that municipal government are in charge of, the ones that you let them know on the front end which contracts are going to be coming out so they can have a chance to bid. The other thing that needs to happen is important, and it's been done before, guys. Break the contracts down to smaller contracts so that small and emerging local businesses can participate. We have contracts out there right now where one company has $45 million worth of contracts. And they're actually slowing the work because they go from one work site to the next work site to the next work site. Let's do what we can control. Let's break them down so more small and emerging businesses can participate.
Senator Duplessis, the question is to you. What actions would you take on day one to support DBE and diverse business growth to meaningfully increase the receipts and market share? 1 minute, Senator.
So we are going to adopt policies based on a culture that is about reducing and minimizing barriers. We're going to be just as aggressive of reducing barriers as we are going after people and punishing them and penalizing them when they don't do the right thing. One thing that people don't understand or realize that I've had to learn is that across departments in City Hall, we don't have a standardized procurement process. So for each different department, you have a different procurement process. So think about the impact that has not on all businesses, but especially when you're thinking about minority and small businesses and minority-owned businesses. So it's going to be double and triple difficult for them to navigate a process where we don't even have a standardized procurement process. So we have to embrace a culture based on standards that are adopted on day one, where we are all about reducing barriers, especially for our small and minority-owned businesses.
Still in the same focus area, talking about procurement, Senator Duplessis, this question is to you. According to the data center, the Greater New Orleans private sector spends 17 times more than the city of New Orleans in annual contracting. Government contracts alone cannot sustain diverse business growth. What specific steps would you take to connect small, minority, and women-owned businesses to private sector opportunities? How would you encourage corporations and anchor institutions to contract with DBEs? Please provide concrete examples. 1 minute, sir.
So we often look at the city of Atlanta as the model for how a mayor was able to create opportunities for black-owned businesses in a city that was majority black. And Maynard Jackson, when he was mayor, he led the way in many ways in terms of the airport development back in, I want to say, the 70s. But we have traditionally looked at city government as a means to create black wealth. But when you look at the statistics, that's not the way. It should be a way, but it's not the only way. So the next mayor has to have a good relationship with the business community. And even though we only have one Fortune 500 who's headquartered here in the city of New Orleans, there's still a lot of private money circulating throughout our economy, as the graph showed and as your question pointed out. So we have to make the local corporate community understand the benefit and the need and the requirement to actually do business with small minority-owned businesses. And that goes back to the point I made earlier, how the mayor has to be a convener, pulling people in the room and having us all rowing in the same direction.
Council member, shall I repeat, or you good?
Can we have the time for the person that didn't show up? Okay. Look,
wait, was that shade?
No,
okay.
I got the question.
Okay, 1 minute, sir.
If we're going to talk about closing the economic wealth gap, this is extremely important. Regime Politics is the book on Atlanta where the relationships were developed that helped grow a black entrepreneur class and black middle class in Atlanta that buffers it from the social ills. The one thing a mayor can do is when a prime or a major company comes in to do business with the municipality or the city, they will usually fill that DBE requirement or have someone from the community, someone black or someone female working with them. The next mayor, this mayor, my expectation is when you go out for your next contract in the private community or when you expand your service somewhere else, that black face or that female face that you brought to meet with me is partnering with you on other deals that you do around the region and around the country. And if you're not, I will not look on you favorably because you only want to use that face to fill a requirement here in the city, but you don't want to do business with that person to do business internationally and nationally or regionally.
Councilmember Thomas, this yes or no rapid fire questions. We'll begin with you. Will you expand and improve the set aside program? Yes or no?
Set aside is illegal.
Senator Duplessis, yes or no question to you?
Yes.
Okay, will you hold prime contractors accountable for meeting the city's DBE participation goals, Senator?
Yes.
Council member?
Yes.
Will your administration commit to create a new economic agency like the New Orleans Business Alliance that is specifically geared to supporting locally grown small businesses? Council member?
Yes.
Senator?
Yes.
All right, place-based development, focus area number 5. This is about neighborhood business support. What is your plan to support neighborhood-based brick and mortar businesses, particularly along commercial corridors? We're talking about Oretha Castle Haley, Broad Street, Bayou Road, Reed, Lake Forest, Claiborne, Newton Street, St. Claude. How will you address also housing, displacement, and gentrification risks to ensure both residents and small businesses can remain and thrive in these communities? I know that was a mouthful. How would you support neighborhood-based brick and mortar developments and making sure that residents and businesses can coexist? Senator Duplessis, 1 minute.
As mayor, I will build on the work that I've been doing in the legislature, where every opportunity that I've had to do a line item appropriation, I've invested in Main Street organizations. I can say the Oretha Castle Haley Merchants Association and others, where we can invest in these organizations so they can do, whether it's facade upgrades or other type of programming to enhance those corridors. That's what we should always be doing. A lot of times it's not about reinventing the wheel. It's about just keeping the wheel turning and keeping the wheel going. The second part of the question had to do with
addressing housing, displacement, gentrification risks.
Absolutely. We need to always be working to protect those who make New Orleans what it is, the people who are being pushed out and who are on the margins, because any type of investment comes displacement. And there's tax policies that we can be adopting as a city to protect homeowners and businesses as we see the rents and as the cost of living continues to go up.
Councilmember Thomas.
The best way that a government can support businesses is to make sure that service is provided, that it's safe, they have access to the police when they need them, that streets are drivable and passable so people can get to your business. You have the right level of lighting so that it supports that particular business, that it's landscaped and clean, and that when there's trash pickup, they come to pick up your trash. And it's timely.
Twice a week.
Twice.
Twice a week.
No. In my plan is we're going back to twice a week, especially during crawfish season. Especially during crawfish season. And the reason why I said that set-asides were illegal because the Richmond and Grossman decision, you know that as a lawyer, said that they were. But open access programs and disadvantaged business programs, yes. In housing, to make sure that we're supporting affordable housing, that STRs and out-of-towners who are gobbling up swaths of property don't control what happens in neighborhoods that used to be affordable for people.
Councilmember Thomas, this question is to you. Given national cuts to HUD funding, political division at the state level, rising costs, uncertainty around local bonds and millages, how would your administration support city-led initiatives for small business and local emerging real estate development? 1 minute, Councilmember.
Probably at some point we're going to have to control utility costs. We can't have sewage and water board bills that are out of control. We can't have energy in their grid not be reliable, but also have gas costs and electric costs that are pushing people out of the city and pushing people out of their homes. The other thing that we need to do is make sure that we support those communities by making sure that the city works. So a lot of those different ways that we can be effective just by doing our jobs.
Thank you, Councilmember. Senator Duplessis, shall I repeat the question? National cuts to HUD funding, political division at the state level, rising costs. How would your administration support city-led initiatives for small businesses and local emerging real estate development? 1 minute, Senator.
So in that question, what I will pull out of it, and the rising costs that affect not only homeowners but small businesses, is the rising cost of insurance. So since I've served on the Senate Insurance Committee for the past 2 years, I've been a major proponent of our fortified roof program. We have a state program. Doesn't go far enough. It is one step, and part of my opportunity agenda is to create a local program to supplement what's happening at the state level. So that's additional grant dollars, not just for residents, but for business owners, because business owners have to incur these high insurance costs as well. That's a critical component. And when you talk about bond financing, we have a lot of tools in the tool belt at the City of New Orleans. A lot of people don't talk about what used to be called the Finance Authority, which is now Finance New Orleans. There's great opportunity to work with Finance New Orleans to do all kind of things, all kind of tools and resources for financing for both affordable housing and business development for small businesses, and that is an underutilized resource that we have that I plan to fully embrace.
Thank you, Senator. These are rapid-fire questions, still talking about neighborhood business support. We'll start with you. This is yes or no, Senator Duplessis. Will your administration commit to substantial investment in beautification, placekeeping, and commercial subsidies in major corridors across the city, yes or no?
Yes.
Council member. Council member, the question is to you. Would you connect directly with council members to meet with small businesses?
Yes.
Senator.
Yes.
Senator, the question is to you. Will you prioritize recruitment of multilingual staff to attract more diverse business owners?
Yes.
Council member.
Yes.
Council member, the question is to you. Do you have a plan to make city departments more welcoming and language accessible?
Yes.
Senator.
Yes.
Senator, the question is to you. Do you commit to publishing an annual small business scorecard for City Hall?
Yes, I commit.
Yes.
Councilman, okay. Wait, now you wrote the rules. Okay. All right, focus area 6, resilience and disaster preparedness. This question is to you, Councilmember Thomas, we'll begin with. With the impending erosion of FEMA, rising insurance costs, outdated infrastructure, the small business community is being forced to manage climate challenges within their business and homes, in addition to common business challenges as well. What will you do to help small businesses better prepare, recover, and resume operations after disasters like hurricanes, flood, or grid failures? Part 1. And then part 2, how will you make sure it's equitable, an equitable investment in resilience infrastructure? Part 2. 1 minute, Councilmember Thomas.
One of the things we have to do is find funds to expand the fortified roof program. The state only had a limited amount of funds, so where does that money come from that could help potentially reduce insurance costs? The other thing, when you talk about sustainability and resilience, is that we have to learn how to live with Mother Nature now, not fight against Mother Nature. Our natural topography gives us access to waterways and greenways that are potential economic opportunities. If you create stronger economic opportunities, then you create more money in the pipeline that makes things affordable for people. And so how do you begin to do that? Working with the Chamber, working with the Louisiana Chamber of Commerce, working with Greater New Orleans Inc., so that we can target those areas of resilience and sustainability and use them as economic growth areas. Ecotourism is one of the fastest growing opportunities in the world. Our natural topography fits in it. For the life of me, I don't understand why we haven't taken advantage of it.
Senator Duplessis, what will you do to help small businesses better prepare, recover, and resume operations after disasters like hurricanes? And how will you make sure there's equitable investment in resilience infrastructure? 1 minute, Senator.
So the way that we have to ask that question is acknowledging and recognizing that there will be another storm. There will be another disaster. These are realities that we have to confront living in the city of New Orleans. But we should embrace it and turn it to our strength. We've learned something after every storm. We thought we learned a lot after Katrina around preparedness and resilience and all the things, but we learned a whole lot after Hurricane Ida, particularly around the need for these microgrids and these energy hubs where you can get solar power and be connected to the grid when the power goes out. That's critical. Obviously, we have to do a much better job communicating. When we talk about sustainability and its impact on minority communities. Look, environmental racism is nothing new to America, especially not to the city of New Orleans. But we have to be always centering the poorest, and the poorest are usually the brown and black people in our community. We just have to always center them.
Yes or no questions. Senator Duplessis, we will begin with you. Stormwater management, heat mitigation, and power grid reliability are critical. Will you partner with local organizations and small businesses to create neighborhood-level resilience hubs across the city? Yes or no, Senator?
Yes.
Council member.
Yes.
Council member, with the questionable status of FEMA and the Small Business Administration, will your administration commit to creating a disaster relief fund for small businesses?
Yes.
Council member. Senator.
Yes.
Senator, do you support waiving permitting fees for businesses after disasters?
Yes.
Council member.
Yes.
Council member, will you set up on-time payment standards to city vendors, particularly small disadvantaged businesses? Council member.
Yes, indeed.
Senator.
Yes.
All right. That was our focus area questions, but now we're going to move into our next portion of the forum. These are direct questions for our candidates, and each candidate will get a 2-minute response. We have selected members from the audience to ask the direct question. Again, this is not the question, okay? So don't take it personal if you feel some kind of way. We're calling up Lindsay Navarro with El Centro. She has a question for Council Member Thomas.
Ooh, okay. Councilmember Thomas, though crime is down and you've directed significant investment into major projects like Bayou Phoenix, Lincoln Beach, and NASA, these projects have been slow to materialize. Any current and aspiring small business owners in New Orleans East and the lower 9th Ward still feel left out, period. Knowing what you know now, what would you have done differently to support small business growth in these communities in your role as councilman? And how would you ensure their viability moving forward alongside these larger investments as mayor?
And that's a great question, because there's a lot of myth versus reality. I first dealt with the Lincoln Beach project as host of the Good Morning Show 8 years ago. The folk who started that effort came on the Good Morning Show, and we talked about the promise and the hope for Lincoln Beach. The next year, 7 years, they came on and talked about the same thing. 6 years, same thing. 5 years, the same thing. Lincoln Beach wasn't fully funded until I got on the council. It didn't have a strategic development plan until I got on the council. So one of the things we did was we created a commission of community for Lincoln Beach. There's a strategic development plan now, and we have the money not only to do the walkway, but to redevelop Lincoln Beach. Now, when you talk about the lower 9th Ward, the millions of dollars that St. Kofa got while I was on the council, the infrastructure work that was done. Now, could we have done more or better? But the one thing I'm certain of is that if you have a mayor that makes sure that those projects are priority, that makes sure that your economic development department makes it a priority, then maybe you could scale up and get things done faster. But as a council member over those projects, I definitely delivered.
Our next direct question is for Senator Duplessis, courtesy of Michelle Burton Otis, owner of Cupcake Fairies on Bayou Road.
Yay. I love them cupcakes.
Good evening. Senator Duplessis, you've been on record saying that the city outdated civil service system is one reason it's so difficult to do business in New Orleans. And you've recalled from your time in City Hall how city processes often stall progress. But beyond the early experience, you haven't held an elected role inside local government. With the current hiring freeze and staffing shortage leaving many small businesses blocked by city departments, how would you ensure your administration both values its employees and makes city government more efficient and business friendly?
2 minutes.
So I want to. The first part of the question I think said that said that civil service was the problem. What I've said, and what I will say again tonight, is that you often hear from the business community that the civil service is a problem. I am a product of working families. I believe that civil service is needed and necessary to protect our workers, but we always want to make sure that we're doing what's necessary to ensure that civil service is not a problem, because we can't get rid of civil service. We have to ensure that workers are protected from political retribution or any sort of unfair treatment. We have standards in place. Civil service exists for a reason. We have a meritocracy system so people can earn the proper pay based on their performance. But one of the challenges that I'll speak to, even though I haven't been at City Hall, we still deal with civil service at the state level. The civil service laws are baked into the Louisiana Constitution, and there's state level conversations around civil service as well. And in fact, there's effort to get rid of civil service at the state level that I've fought against. But what we don't ever want is for civil service to unnecessarily delay the ability for the city to hire, or unnecessarily delay the ability for City Hall to be able to get rid of someone who is a problem for progress. And we know that that happens. So whether we're looking at minimizing the number of days, whether it's a 90-day process, we set a goal to move it to a 30-day process to get someone hired to fill some of these unfilled positions. That's something that we need to always be taking a look at. We have to keep civil service in place, but it should never be a burden for overall operations and efficiency.
All right, our next portion of the forum will be audience questions. I know you remember the QR code we had on the screen. We did have some questions submitted. Audience members have been selected. Our first question will come from, who's reading the question that was submitted? Kathleen Rose Astoriga.
Thanks.
Before you begin, you will have 1 minute to respond. We'll begin with Councilmember Thomas.
As a long-standing property steward in New Orleans, I've submitted multiple service requests to parks and parkways since 2022 regarding overgrown oak trees planted in the public right-of-way. These trees have caused insurance concerns, blocked deliveries, and created safety hazards for my business and customers. Despite repeated outreach, trimming and maintenance remain inconsistent and slow. If elected, how will you ensure that Parks and Parkways responds to tree service requests in a timely and equitable manner? And how will you protect local capital budgets from being stripped to fund external institutions while basic city services remain under-resourced?
First of all, that's a great question. The charter-related services is what we're having a problem with right now. First of all, let's get them to do their job. The one thing that I've noticed in the 3.5 years that I've gotten back is everyone talks about more money and they talk about more people, but I actually believe that we're only getting 50 or 60% output from the people who are there. So if we can motivate our public, employees to do their job from the time they start to the time they're off, and especially around a business like you guys, you shouldn't have to wait 2, 3, 4, 5 years as an established business for somebody to come out and trim those trees. When you don't trim the trees on time, when you don't prune the roots on time, they have a much broader effect on the public utilities, what happens underground, and the infrastructure in general. So if it's not done on time, and if it's not general maintenance that ought to happen within that department of Parks and Parkway, then it's going to wind up costing you more in the long run.
Councilmember, Senator.
So my answer to that question is in many ways connected to the last question, even though it was around civil service. I'm going to answer it as it relates to performance outcomes and accountability across all departments, not just Parks and Parkways. Because when we don't properly show up, maintain the trees, there are additional costs, as it's already been said. So if the performance isn't in place, we have to ask the question why. Has a benchmark been put in place? Have we set expectations for the public to understand how long it should take, not just to get a tree trimmed, but to get a pothole fixed, or to get a street light repaired, or for a police officer to show up when you make a 911 phone call?
We have to have performance metrics in place so then we can hold our staff accountable. And I just want to be on record and say, look, I appreciate all our civil servants. I appreciate, value every city worker. Not all of them are performing to the highest, but we need to have a system in place where we can get rid of the ones who aren't and promote the ones who are.
Our next question is from Tina Balthazar with Balthazar Electrics. 1 minute. Senator, the question is, one moment.
Can I insert a question while we're waiting for Tina to come out?
One moment.
Ms. Baltazar is not in, but we do have Deborah Gould from Gould and Associates. Deborah.
Thank you, Adele. Good evening, everyone. I am Deborah Gould, member of the Collaborative. So this question is focused around expanding economic impact beyond the French Quarter. New Orleans is a hospitality-driven city, but small businesses in many neighborhoods are struggling with low foot traffic. What is your plan to bring tourism, conventions, and local residents back into the commercial corridors across the city, not just downtown, but citywide?
Senator, 1 minute.
First.
Yes, sir.
So too often, New Orleanians, homegrown New Orleanians, feel like we are not as much of a priority as the tourists who come to the city. We had a forum like this. It was just Oliver and I last night with the Downtown Development District, and we were talking about Canal Street. Your question, I'll just say hypothetically tonight, we're going to talk about Bayou Road, right? Right. All right, and we know we're not going to exclude Aretha Castle Haley and the other boulevards, but you know we're going to promote those boulevards and thoroughfares for being true New Orleans. They are part of the experience. We're going to tell the story, not just of the history, but promote it into the future, and that's the beauty of New Orleans. And honestly, that's a big part of why I'm running, because we need someone who can truly tell that story and connect those dots from the French Quarter, from Canal Street to New Orleans East, to the Cutoff, to Carrollton, and
1 minute, sir.
And to Bayou Road.
Council member, 1 minute.
Well, first of all, Ms. Gould, that's a very powerful, important question. It's a question about our future and whether we're going to expand our economic footprint and whether we're going to expand opportunity to all four corners of this city. As mayor, and we break records in terms of tourism. Before COVID, 19 million. We're going to approach or pass that number. As mayor, my economic development office is going to meet with these conventions, meet with these special events, and say, hey, hold on a second. Guess what, guys? There's a Bayou Road here. There's an historic part, Lower Ninth Ward. There's a Holy Cross district. There are corridors in this community beyond the sliver by the river. So as mayor, they're not going to have to guess, and I'm going to expect New Orleans and Company and our tourism officials to make sure they are advertising all the four corners of this community the way they do the French Quarter and downtown. And if they don't, the funding they get from us will be in question.
Thank you. Our next question, audience question, please hold your applause, is coming from Jaira Rayford with Rayford Realty and Aretha Castle Haley Merchants and Business Association.
This is a real-time policy challenge question in regards to the National Guard deployment. If the state or federal government attempts to deploy the National Guard in New Orleans without the city's consent, how would your administration respond to protect the residents and uphold the local authorities?
Councilmember Thomas, 1 minute.
Well, first of all, excuse me, I'm not going to let anybody abuse my people, period.
Amen.
And ICE better be nice, and the National Guard better guard what they're responsible for. Now, if we need help, we'll ask for help. But if we don't ask for help, you cannot intrude and come here in my community and force federal laws and federal authority over the people who are here. So I'm hoping it doesn't come to that, but one of the first things I'm going to do as mayor is meet with the governor and meet with our U.S. senators and our federal representatives to say, here are the rules of engagement when you talk about public safety and the lines of authority when you talk about protecting our community. They're going to know that on the front end.
Senator, 1 minute.
New Orleans is a home rule charter city. We're a city that believes in self-determination. We want the help. We want the federal support, but we don't want federal troops. Give us those resources so that we can invest in our communities, in our young people, in our businesses. Those are the ways to keep crime down, not political theater where you're singling out black and brown cities that have black leadership to say we're going to occupy your cities essentially when crime is down, right? Crime is up in Baton Rouge, crime is up in Shreveport, but we don't single out those cities, right? But there's a market difference there. So we understand the play, but my communication and way of dealing with that, as I've already expressed publicly, would be we welcome support, but work with us. Don't work on us, right? That's not the way this is going to go.
Thank you. That concludes our audience portion of this forum. We're going to move into closing statements. Each candidate will get 2 minutes. We will begin with you, Senator Duplessis. Councilmember Thomas, you'll have the final word. Senator.
Thank you, Gina, and thank you all for being here tonight, because it means that you care about our community, whether you're here on behalf of your small business, whether you're just here on behalf of your neighborhood or your family. We have a critical decision to make. This next mayor's election will decide the future of the next 25 to 50 years. Right now, I believe we're at a critical juncture. I talked earlier about how I started at City Hall 20 years ago. Although I've been in the Senate for 7 years, I saw what it was like post-Katrina New Orleans, exercising crisis leadership when the city couldn't decide or was trying to decide which direction we were going in. I believe we're in a similar situation right now. Over 20,000 people have left the city in the past 4 years. We're facing a $100 million budget deficit. We've had multiple energy rate hikes, endless infighting between the council and the mayor that has led to a tone and a feeling throughout the city that, in my opinion, is simply unacceptable. I'm ready to turn the page on that division. I'm ready to turn the page on the chaos and be about solutions for our city. That's what we deserve. I don't believe that the next mayor can be someone who just knows the system. The next mayor has to be someone who's ready to change the system. That's what we need, and that's what leadership is. Because let me tell you, ideas and concepts, we can come up with those till the cows come home. I've worked with a lot of smart people, but a lot of those smart people don't have the leadership. What we're lacking right now is leadership. And that's what I'm here to give. That's what I've been doing in Baton Rouge in an incredibly hostile climate, working with people who I disagree with to deliver and center the people of this city. I'm asking you all to consider me for mayor. October 11th is the date. My name is Royce Duplessis. Thank you all so much.
Councilmember Thomas. 1 second. Thank you. Councilmember Thomas, 2 minutes. Closing
Well, first of all, I want to thank Propeller. I want to thank everyone in this room. The conversation about how we close the wealth gap, how we expand investment in economic opportunity is going to determine our city's viability and where we count going into the future. So let's talk about leadership. I was the only council member and first person to ever have a regional meeting with the Jefferson Parish Council and council members with New Orleans, because I knew that moving into the future, that regional cooperation would be better than us standing alone. My first year, this time, back after being out of politics for 14, and remember this, a lot of people were elected while I was gone. They were in office. I had to come back to find dysfunction. I had to come back to find the lack of collaboration. I had to come back to find folk who didn't have basic institutional knowledge. Even if you don't run the system, you need to understand how the system works. It's important. So let's talk about the city council. The first letter I did, the open letter that was published in the Tribune, to call for a retreat. She said, let's get in the room with the mayor. So we may not agree on everything, but maybe we can find 2 or 3 or 4 things that we do agree upon where politics and personalities don't get in the way. That retreat wasn't accepted. I asked for a retreat a year and a half ago. I said I saw we were heading into a lame duck time, and I know people were going to be running for office, and once politics gets in the way, it's going to be hard to get anything done, and we see that now. That wasn't accepted. Man, I learned from a lot of the titans and a lot of the great leaders in history that you put your ego on the side, you put your personality on the side, and you get in the room with people who want to work with you, who need to work with you to make a difference for our community. We need to expand our economic footprint. The only person talking about ecotourism and taking the opportunities with our natural topography and our waterways.
Thank you, council member. A round of applause.
Can I use Councilmember Marino's side? Oh.
Thank you for
Guys,
showing
God
up.
bless y'all. Thank y'all so much.
A round of applause for our candidates. Thank you, gentlemen. Councilmember Thomas, Senator Duplessis, for showing up to engage in this important conversation on small businesses and making sure we have a diverse and equitable small business climate moving forward. On behalf of the host partners, small business community, thank you to everyone who joined in person and online. Remember, responses from all candidates are available through the write-in form online. Stay engaged, stay informed. Most importantly, y'all, vote. The only poll that matters is the one on Election Day, October 11th. I'm Gina Swanson. It's been my pleasure. Have a good night.